back, everyone. Here we are leaving off where we were last time. We have a map, we have some terrain, we want to bring in an army. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. The first one is that in the workshops there tend to be army sets in here. Now, an important thing when you're loading something from the workshop and you've already got all of this set up, first of all, save your game. So save, we happen to have a temp one here that I made earlier, which was test. So I'm going to go options, I'm going to go override. For those of you that haven't seen the video on how to save a game, you go into save and load and you click save and you give it whatever name you want and then click save. And then your games are saved here. So that's good beforehand, just in case you happen to stuff something up beforehand. It also means you can have a map that's already set up, ready to go. So I'm going to go to games and then workshop, and we have these models here. Now look what happens if I happen to click that directly and click load. Whoops. Oh no, got rid of our thing. We just wanted the models, but we wanted it in the other system, don't we? Because we've got this cool Bellacore guy. So instead what I'm going to do is click load. And much like we additive loaded the terrain, we can additive load things from the workshop or saved objects as well. So to bring in models from the workshop, you go to your workshop, you go to here and you click Bellacore, and you could click additive load, but instead we just want Bellacore himself. So I'm going to click search and it shows you what's inside of that workshop piece. I'm just going to drag the model and drop him down there. And now we have a accurately sized, really cool looking Bellacore model for our game. Generally it's good to write notes on your pieces here. So I'm going to write Bellacore, he is my warlord. You only really need to set this up once if you've got an army. So he's got a 2+ weapon skill, a 2+ ballistic skill, he's got a strength of 7, a toughness of 7. Can I remember all this off the top of my head? He'd have attacks of 5, he'd have wounds of 16, he'd have a leadership of 9, and a save of 2+/4++. So there's a shorthand, and you can start including other abilities in here. There are a couple of ways to pre-import these with the details from battlescribe. But in this particular case, I just want to show you in case you're doing a quick game, you just wanted to put some notes down. So for instance, he has a 6-inch reroll of 1s. I'd like shorthand like re-hit-1. That's one for, I can't remember what this thing's called. It's like I'm going to call it Coven, but I'm pretty sure it's you know, of his army. And a 6-inch re-hit-all for Bellacore keyword troops. So that's generally troops. So Coven is actually things like, you know, vehicles and / other. As far as I remember, he's also got some other ridiculous stuff. So Shadow, which is -1 to hit. No re-hit. So -1 to hit him, and no re-rolling your hits on him either, because he's all shadowy and funky. He's also got 2x spells, which you could put down in cards elsewhere. So you can write your notes in there, and that's just a nice way to be able to go and have a look and be able to see what the details are on the model so that they can make tactical choices. Spacebar will bring you back up to here. So as you can see, I added a bunch of notes and I want to put some other things down. There are also other packs, which for instance here, you can have a 40k pack. If we went to Chaos and we chose, I don't know, demons, and we go search, and what's a neat demon? Let's get some bloodletters. Blood. Alright, you can see there's kind of repeats here. Number 1, number 2, number 3. This can be really useful because people will give bases different colors, which can be pretty cool. What I'm going to show you here though is how to use textures across different models. We have a Blood Reaper here. He has a darker, bigger sword, but there's only one Blood Reaper that has the same base, and I'd really like to use, if we have a squad of Blood Reapers for this guy, I'd really like to be able to have a red Blood Reaper and a gold Blood Reaper so we can tell... Sorry, Blood Reaper. That one. So we can tell what squad is part of what. Well, you can actually borrow textures across things, which can come in handy for making things look nice. So if I right click and choose custom, you see in the custom model we have a diffuse/image. Generally, these are big old texture maps, which look like this. So there's the textures which have been mapped onto it, a couple of golden things, swords and stuff like that. So I'm actually going to copy that, and I'm going to go to the Blood Reaper here and choose custom. I'm going to drop this in. This may not always work, so actually generally always have a copy. Just as a backup, I'm going to paste that into there and click import. 2 matching ones? No, I don't want to update that. But, oh look, now we have a Blood Reaper that matches our guys. I get the blood letter, click the Blood Reaper here, right click that blood letter, choose custom, go to diffuse image, copy that, right click on the Blood Reaper, go to diffuse image, paste that, click import. No, I don't want to update it, it's just this guy. Now we have a Blood Reaper for each of these armies. It's a really useful way to just differentiate stuff if they happen to have different colored bases. If they don't, it really depends upon how they were built. You might be able to right click and then give them a tint to be able to tell the different squads apart. So in that particular case, we've got a blood letter, he's now got a green base. And that can be an easier way to sort of select this guy and right click and then choose blue. And the blue one there didn't work, but it did on these original ones, which is really useful. So let's see if it works on this Blood Reaper. Okay, so it doesn't work on the Blood Reapers, which is interesting. But it does work on the blood letters. So that's just however someone sets it up. Although it did recolor his sword. To be able to set up your squads to be able to differentiate. Now, as far as moving squads around, get used to using your mouse wheel, because you can pick up and rotate squads around and just organize them. I'll show you how to some cool tips and tricks on actually moving around Tabletop Simulator in the next video, but just sort of organize your army and get them here on the table and everything like that. Once you've got your whole army set up, what we're going to do is we're actually going to save the whole lot of them as a custom object, so you don't have to redo all this. You don't have to write all the stuff in Bellicor, you don't have to write all the stuff for your blood letters, you don't have to write down all your, I don't know, psychic powers. So we might have object, components, tools, a note card which have the spells on them and things like that. So once you've got your army organized, and it doesn't have to be organized on the table before the game, you can do this way earlier. Select the whole lot, right click and choose Save Object. And this is Army of Shadows. I'm just going to click Save. So that's been saved in my custom object list. Let's go find out where they are. So if I click on Objects, I click on Saved Objects, we have a whole bunch of stuff in here, and you may notice in here we have Army of Shadows. If I drag and drop that onto the table, it thinks for a second, maybe a couple of seconds, loads them in, and then there's the army ready to play. The other way you can build armies out is that sometimes there are whole army sets in the workshop. So let's see, ARNY. Let's go Sisters of Battle. I'm going to click on this and click Load. And as you can see, there are some models here that something didn't load from it. It's saying, hey, we failed to load a something. So see, load image, unsupported, unknown. JPEG, model, collider. So something went squiffy there. I'm not sure what it's for. There's 45 of these that went wrong. So sometimes the stuff is no longer being hosted, which can be annoying and problematic because you might have a favorite piece of terrain or a favorite model, and then all of a sudden it doesn't have a model piece anymore. And you know what? I think this entire thing has been removed from the workshop. Oh, we have a cool cherub as the only model that came in with that. Well, at least it's a good example. So instead, let's make a. I play a lot. I play custodes a lot. So that's going to just be over the top there. So I'm going to choose. Whoops. Did it load? No, it didn't. It's having a conniption. So I'm going to go to some safe packs that I have here as a backup. choose Adeptus Custodes, and I'm just going to click on that and load that. Cool, plenty of models there to work with. So now we can have a look in here and be like, okay, we have a lot of guys that we could build. So if I wanted to build a Custodes army, I could grab the shield captain on a bike, and I could grab Trajan Valorous. Guards, I generally play with a spear and a sword and board. I have them ×3, so 1, 2, 3. Dreadnoughts. My 4 Banditos have a Telamon, a Galatus, an Achilles, and a Venerable with the Assault Cannon. Oh no, look, that's my arc list from previous videos that you might have seen. So we can save this lot, right click, save object, we'll call it temp, and click save. Cool, we have an army. So you'll probably want to spend some time just on a base table. So if we go to the main menu, just making sure they've got all the details you need. There's also a army importer, which if I go to battlescribe to TTS, this is really useful. It basically you just upload your roster to it. So if I go to Tabletop Simulator here, sorry, not Tabletop Simulator, battlescribe. Yeah, and I'm going to make a new list, and I'm going to add a force. I'm going to choose Imperium, Adeptus Custodes, Battalion Detachment. Cool. What do I normally put in? Yeah, we don't need to worry about setting up the rest of it. I'm just going to call this Test Army. And so upload roster, go to my desktop, we're going to find Test Army. And your roster code is this. So how do we use it? Well, the first thing is you go to roster with battlescribe, you make that, gives you a code in Tabletop Simulator, paste the code in the battlescribe to TTS tool. Great, let's go find that. So go to here, we'll go to the workshop, we'll type in battlescribe to TTS. Great, subscribe to that. Go back to here, we're going to create a single player game, workshop, we're going to go to battlescribe to TTS. Hooray! So, get the code, paste, and submit code. Cool. What we would do here is we go 40k packs, I'm going to go Imperium, I'm going to go to Adeptus Custodes, and I'm going to open up search. Put this over here. TRA, or Trajan. Trajan Valorous. Cool. So I'm going to click that. And he has now become that one. Great. Captain. Shield Captain on a Dawn Eagle jet bike. Put him down there, select that one, pick up this bottle, it's now assigned. Groovy. We would like a custodian guard with a shield and one with a spear. So we need the guardian spear guy, so I'm going to click on that one. Need one with the sentinel blade, click on that, click on that one. Imperium. Why didn't I leave that open? Cool. So we want the Galatus. Dink. We want the Achilles. Dink. The Telamon. Dink. And the Venerable. And red. There it is. And normal looking dude with the assault cannon. There we go. There's the other one. So Contemptor Achilles is this one. Contemptor Galatus is that one. Telamon is that one. Whoops. Click that. Contemptor Galatus is that one. General Contender. Yay! Everyone is ready. So next we create an army. Yeah, there we go. It's still going. Cool. Lovely thing about all this. Oh, look at that. It's got all the details of the weapons and abilities on them. It's great. So, you've got an army. It's all here. We can highlight that, right click, and we can go save as an object. I'm going to call this test 2. You can call it whatever you want. So, what we're going to do is we've now got an army prepared. I want to bring this into the game map that we had earlier. So we called this one test. Tink load. Got our map loaded. We have an army. Let's bring it in and attach. I'm going to show you how to attach some wound markers. You can just use dice, but in this particular case, I'm going to objects, saved objects. I'm going to look up test 2. Bang. Drop them on the table. Give them a moment to load in. There's the whole army. Great. So I'm going to attach wound markers to these. A lot of the time, we'll just do it just like we do on the tabletop. You get a dice, and you shrink it down, and you choose 4 wounds or 3 wounds or whatever for whichever ones are the wounded ones. And you drag them around. For your big dreads, like these guys, they have 9 wounds. You may have taken a wound and been down to 8. You can also change the colors of these if you like having nice red dice for your wound markers. So that's the standard way of doing it, which is good and fine. The other way is to use these wound markers. So these can actually just be dropped on and all, but you can see the physics are still interacting, which can be a bit weird. So you may remember earlier I talked about the fact that there's a gimbal. So we're going to take the gizmo, I'm going to click the wounds remaining, and shift that out of the way. And what I'm going to do is just put it inside of the base, like so. Physics might interact a little bit, don't worry about that too much. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to attach the model. So I would like this to be attached, and I would like the wound marker. Oops, probably help if I... You know, I think I've done. I need to put it on top of the base. There we go. So now it's got a wound marker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach that. Also, make sure you copy your objects before you do this, just in case it loses some information or gets a bit weird. So what I'm going to do is select, using this combine tool, I'm going to choose the wounds remaining, I'm going to attach it to the Contemptor Achilles, like so. So now we've got a Contemptor Achilles, and the wound marker, I'll get up. I did that in the wrong order. Sorry. Combine. I want to choose the Contemptor Achilles and attach it to the wounds remaining. Okay. So now the wounds remaining stays there, but you will have noticed that it got rid of all those lovely details. This is why we created a copy. So I'm going to right click on the Contemptor Achilles, highlight all those details, right click on the new one, paste them, right click on that Contemptor Achilles, and that name's really long. We don't need to see the wounds, we've already got it up top, so I'm going to say Contemptor Achilles /9. So we know how many wounds it has by base. And so now we've got a cool wound marker attached to our model. The other thing I'm going to do is choose the gimbal, and actually I'm going to get it out of that loading area. Choose the gimbal. I'm going to see if I can just tweak. It's moving the whole thing. Unfortunately, to separate something. Once you've done it, in case you do it accidentally, you drag from one object and just drag it off. Oops, I just combined that with that. Just drag it off. Let me change my tool quickly. Should have separated. Okay. So now the wound marker and the dreadnought are separated. So what we could probably do is select lock, select this. There was a way I was doing this without the physics interacting, which was useful. But unfortunately, I can't remember how to do that at the moment. But you can see that if you're happy having a little square attached to the base, as we had earlier before I bugged this one up, you can actually attach wound markers to it. Otherwise, you can just attach dice. Because the nice thing with dice is you could click 4, or you could click 5 on that, and it will still roll. So let's see if I can attach from the one you attach it to where it's going to end up. No, that's no good. Oh well, you can't attach dice to it, but you can just leave a dice behind them, and then as you move the models, do as we do old school, unless it has a nice big base like this, in which case, no, it's also not interactive. Cool, don't worry about it. Just remember to take your dice with you, or attach the wound markers beforehand. But anyway, that's how we learned. So, as far as models go, positioning can sometimes be a little bit weird when you put it on the table. So for instance, remember how, when we spawned a bunch of dice, we could give them a big old shake and they'd get jumbled up. Well, the problem is that can happen to models too. Say we have this gorgeous line of troops all set up nicely right along the front. Remember, you can highlight and pick up groups, move them along, you can use the middle mouse button to rotate them. Say we have this nice big line of troops all set up here at the deployment zone. We've started the game, we can... the deployment zones will hide once you click start game, but since I'm actually not playing a game at the moment. Now, you can pick these up, and moving models, and if you move them, and then accidentally shake them, oh no. They all clustered together. Now we're going to have to press Ctrl Z. Now it has to reload everything. Now it kind of bugs out a bit. So be careful not to shake your models if you're selecting them in groups. If you're picking them up, kind of try and pre-measure your systems. What's that you say? Chris, you haven't told me about pre-measuring models? Oh, it's true, I haven't. So, Tab. Tab is your friend. Tab produces this measurement tool. So, for instance, I know that this guy has a 24-inch range. I can tell that 24 inches is right to there. But the cool thing about this is that it will actually snap model to model. So if I want to measure 24 inches, I could do it like we do traditionally on the table and realize that it's within 24 inches. But I can also highlight the model, hold down tab, and just go to the next one. And it will tell me it's 17.1 inches away. This is really, really, really useful if you are in the combat phase and you want to charge. Say we have these models and I want to know how much I need to get to this closest guy. Cool, 7.9, it's a 7-inch charge. Then when you pick up your models, you can highlight the group, pick them all up, hold down tab while holding down your mouse button, and it measures for you. So I know I can be 7. Let's say I rolled a 9, so these guys can actually move another 2 inches and 2 inches. So you can kind of control your movement by using this tab piece. You can get general distances. Vertically, it doesn't work. You got to be careful with things on different floors. Is that if I go there to there, it measures 1.7, but that's only horizontally. So distances aren't quite perfect and exact in this, but it'll do. The other thing when you're picking up and moving models around is that, see that? He's kind of trying to snap onto the levels of the building, which can get a bit weird. If you want a stack of models to be on different floors, what you can do is be careful when you're holding them over, because it will try and attach. Get them onto the next floor down, then hold down the right mouse button. And what that'll do is it'll try and push it down, which can be really good for just getting models onto the next floor. Similarly, this one here, I want them on the bottom floor, hold down the right mouse button, and as long as your camera is at the right angle, you can get them into the corner. The other thing is the nudge key, which is if you hold your mouse there and you hold down N, it sort of bump models around to get them into the right position. That being said, this is a physics simulator, it's not perfect. If you're wanting to be really, really tricky and say, hey, these models are half an inch away from the wall, so that you can't actually get within half an inch, so you can't fight them, or 1 inch away, or something like that. Sometimes you can try finagling every single model that you've got here, but that you can even see it there. The finagling of me right holding it down kind of was bumping that other guy around. Might bump this guy around and it gets really annoying. It can take forever. What you can just do is that polite thing they always tell us to do is just tell your opponent, hey, these guys are half away from the wall. In fact, wouldn't it be useful if you could draw a line? Ooh, we have that ability. So you go to here, you measure half an inch back, just put a nudge there, move your mouse there, hold down tab to measure, then you can click and drag this line out like that. So we know those models are there. So when you're measuring 6 inches for their movement, you could just grab these guys, and just kind of put them there and just say, hey, we agreed that these guys are just in a line, but I didn't want to finagle every single guy's perfect movement. Cool. What we'll do is we will just measure from this line instead. Move 6 inches, come out to here. Wouldn't it be great if we could put a line down there for where they end up, and then I can just visually place the models? Sure you can. There's a 6 inch. I'm going to put a line that way. I'm going to grab all these models. You know they can't move further than that, but they'd all be on the line. They all stuffed up their position by doing that. They're upside down. F for flip. It is your friend. You can also middle mouse button while you're holding something. So pick them up, move it, pick them up, move it, highlight him, press F to flip him over, and we can just place everyone along that line, and we agreed upon some positioning with the lines and things like that. These guys are now perfectly positioned without us worrying about finding the physics system. When you're done with your lines, get the erase tool, you just click and drag to erase pieces like that. So they're just ways to make using the game a lot easier. Generally I find the drawing tool is really useful, especially for lines. Sometimes it will disappear while you're in the middle of measuring, and then it'll go away. Oh, right, tapping tab. If I'm like, hey, these guys here, they're going to advance. Great, let's get a dice. Grab a d6, shake it, throw it. They advance 1 inch. Cool, so this guy moves 7, zip. So basic movement 6, this guy moves 7. By picking up a model and holding down tab, then you can say they've advanced. And if you want to use those tokens that we were talking about earlier, which was these ones, copy that, place that there, and maybe shrink it down, and that way you can just remember that the squad is advanced. Cool, so that's as far as movement goes. Sometimes models will have scripts attached to them. Sometimes you'll want to remember numbers that have died in a particular phase before a fight phase has happened. There's different ways that people will mark down casualties. Some people like using the flip method, which you just flip around the ones that have died. They've got a leadership of 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. If you roll above a 4, then they whip around. Other ways, if people will just pick up models off the table and just move them off the edge like that, and they'll just keep them clustered, and then at the end of the turn they'll clean up by just deleting whatever's left. So there's a couple of ways you can manage things. Some of the useful gizmos around here are like this measurement tool. Unfortunately, it sometimes physics a bit, but that time didn't. So if we ever need to work out what is 9 inches from these guys, great, we know where the 9-inch bubble is. Picking up can kind of be tricky sometimes if there's a model on top of it, but you can sort of just work your way around it. Just kind of put him back in. So you're going to have to be a bit forgiving. Another thing you can do to measure out like ranges, I don't know, psychic powers or whatever, you can choose a circle. This one's a bit more complicated, but get a circle, hold it at the edge of a base, hold down tab and measure out, let's say, 6 inches. Cool, there's our first point. Click and hold to start drawing a circle. Go to the other side of the base, measure out 6 inches, let go, and let go of your mouse button. And now we have a 6-inch circle around this guy. There's a couple ways you can make it pretty useful. So in the end, once you've got a game set up, you can click Start Game, it'll get rid of the deployment zones, and then it's just a case of rolling dice and pretending your awesome space monsters and friends are having a good battle. Roll, see how you go, re-roll, decry all those ones, get rid of your 2s, have a good game, throw things around the table. If someone dies, yeet them off into infinity, like so. They will eventually disappear and then come back out onto the table, so you can do it for fun. The other thing is the table flip. I wouldn't suggest it, but we're going to do it for fun. And everything falls into the water. So remember, the workshop has a lot of stuff. What I'll show you next is how to import your own models that you've built, and also be able to change textures if someone's giving you something to work with and you want Ultramarines and you've only got Raven Guard.